Hi, welcome back to the Scan Overclocking Day here in Bolton. I'm joined by Paul Watkinson from BenchTec. Paul, as far as overclockers are concerned, you're one of the most famous in the world. It's interesting to talk to you today because we've recently run a discussion on the Hexus forums where we've asked our readers if they still overclock their PCs. We've had a mixed response. Quite a few have said that they don't do it anymore. What's your take on the state of the overclocking hobby as it is?
Overclocking, like the extreme side, has sort of had a bit of a downfall, but everyone should be looking to overclock their PCs. Why? Put it in simple terms. If I say to you, you've got a car that does 100 miles an hour, yeah, and you're going to travel 100 miles, well, it's going to take you 1 hour, as we all know. If I push this magic button on your car and it does 200 miles an hour now, but you travel 100 miles, you're going to get there in 30 minutes, i.e. saving time. So overclocking is still very an important part in whether you're just a gamer or a business, because if you're doing video encoding, music decryption, AutoCAD, something like that, if you can make all those threads work much faster, you're going to produce more productivity at the end of the day for the same amount of time. As same is if you're a gamer, you're going to introduce more fraps into your gameplay, which, as you asked any professional game player, they want as maximum frames as they can possibly get because they want to switch on all the high candy and everything and beat their opponent. So yes, overclocking is still a very much important part of life and everybody should be doing it.
Okay, we've had some people say exactly the same thing as you. If you can get free performance, why not? The counter-argument that some others have put forward is that by overclocking you use more power, you introduce more heat, and modern-day processors, particularly Intel Sandy Bridge, is so quick to begin with that perhaps the positives don't outweigh the negatives.
Yes, Intel have taken and learnt a lot from us extreme overclockers, and they have now introduced Turbo V, and as we see in the processors are very fast. They're fast, you know, the Intel processors that we see here are faster than anything in the world currently today. But for the small increase, you know, we're still talking about a part that produces 95 watts or 130 watts TDP to perhaps a part that, you know, approaches 110 watts to 150 watts TDP. It's not a huge increase for a vast performance increase. You know, we're talking about a part that does 3,400 megahertz, 3,300 megahertz, overclocking it to nearly 5,000 megahertz by just bolting on a simple H100 water cooling unit. There is no need for liquid nitrogen now to achieve 5,000 megahertz on a system.
Okay, another question that often comes up is air or water cooling. For the average overclocker at home, what would you recommend?
It all depends basically what you're doing and how far you want to push your system. It all comes down to how much do I want to spend at the end of the day. You know, we can all get from A to B. We can either buy a Mini, absolutely the cheapest form of transport, or we can buy a Rolls Royce. It still does the same job, but we get there a lot faster and in much more comfort. And the same is with all the platforms that we see. We can go for the cheapest, and yes, we can do, you know, basic functionality with it, or we can spend the extra money and go for a full-blown overclock or whatever. So is air or water better? Well, water is better because water removes much more heat. That's why we use it in cars and central heating systems, you know, because it heats quicker and it reduces heat faster.
Okay, another question for you. Quite a few of our readers also suggested that overclocking has become too easy. In the past, they enjoyed doing it because of the trial and error. It sounds counterintuitive, but a lot of people like tweaking and trying to fine-tune settings. Modern-day motherboards, we've got a few on display here, have got one button, you press it, and it kind of does the job for you. Do you think that's too easy, and do you think it defeats the purpose?
No. I've been playing with PCs for, 20, 30 years now. And part of what you see behind you and the functionality of these is I'm probably, and many others like me from the extreme overclocking environment are guilty of what is now on motherboards, because these are our ideas and designs that have been given to these manufacturers. What we've done is, in the past, we've had to solder various parts onto boards or remove components and that, and not everybody can do that. You know, there's only a small handful of people in the world that can actually do that and, you know, increase their speeds. Well, the motherboard manufacturers have thought, well, why can't the masses, you know, be able to do this? So they've now made this. It's up to you whether you want to use these software overclocking or whatever, but really, the BIOS is still the main function for overclocking, so you still got to know what you're doing. You know, it isn't a matter of just pushing a button. You still got to be knowledgeable to get the maximum performance from your PC.
Okay, speaking of the knowledge, overclocking generally does require some expertise. to do it at your levels, it requires a lot of expertise. How important do you think it is to people to come to these sessions where you're doing live demonstrations today, trying to educate people? How valuable do you think these sessions really are?
I think they're really invaluable, and as far as I know, Scanner, the only manufacturer, not just in the UK, but in the world, that offer these free classes for anybody to turn up, whether they wish to buy anything or not. They will have the opportunity to sit bums on seats, actually push buttons and listen, and hopefully go away from the shop, whether they bought something or not, at the end of the day, with the knowledge of knowing how to do things and manipulate a few things. So what has taken me many years, they will learn in a matter of a few hours. So it's, what Scan have done for their customers is totally outstanding.
Okay, Paul, thanks very much for that. Let me do the outro again. What should I finish with? Do you want any more questions, or do you think that's enough?
You was talking about extreme hardware, like that we've only got to buy extreme.
Yeah.
So do you want to say, like a lot of our readers saying we've got to buy the best chip and all this to overclock?
You want to talk components? I can ask you what you would recommend.
No, not recommend, but just say, like, is it true that a lot of our readers have said we need the extreme components to be able to overclock? And I will say no, we can actually buy a 2500K.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. But then again, 2500K.
It's still cheap. It's cheap.
Relatively speaking.
It's the cheapest system, isn't it?
Yeah. But it's still the third highest product you can get from the entire product range.
Yeah.
So
but we haven't got to buy the extreme.
What I could ask you is, like I said, okay, Paul, 2011 is almost upon us. What would you like to see happen in terms of overclocking next year?
Yeah.
That's a good question.
Yeah.
Okay, Paul, 2011 is almost coming to an end. 2012 is drawing near. What would you like to see in the upcoming year in terms of overclocking?
More people coming to events, obviously at Scan, learning, because with knowledge, we're all as powerful as one then. I'd like, at the end of 2012, not just me or just a handful of people, but a whole bunch of people in Bolton and around the UK have a little bit of the knowledge that I've got, so that they can maximise their performance, whether it be a 2500K or the latest X79 chipset from Intel, the Extreme Edition. We're talking mega money there, but they can buy a 2500K and they can overclock that to at least 5000 megahertz without the need of liquid nitrogen, just by bolting on a simple air heatsink. That would be my thing that I would like to see. Prices obviously come down a little bit on the manufacturer side, or motherboards and chipsets and CPUs and that, but mainly people learning something, which isn't costing and anything. We're all having a fun day here at Scan today, but they're learning something, and I felt, happy in myself that I'm passing on that knowledge that I've learned over the many years. They're going away, and basically they'll be able to manipulate their system and get more performance and enjoy themselves more.
Brilliant. Okay, thanks, Paul. Well, we asked the question, was overclocking a dying hobby? But take a look at the enthusiasm from Paul and everybody here at the Overclocking Day. We'd say it's very much as popular as ever.